All right, we good to go?
Let's do it.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Geek Fanthology. I am your host, Neil Porter, and I'm joined this week by
Mike.
And the one true Ben, unfortunately, is having some internet troubles. He hasn't finished moving yet. Hopefully, he will. He may or may not be joining us later in the episode. We'll kind of see, but such is life, and we still try to. We have a schedule to keep, so even though I've been crap about adhering to the schedule, sorry about that, everybody. Brain, make words go. I've had a long day. We're going to talk about game mods today. Game mods. Game mods is an entirely different thing, and that's what I swear I heard myself say the first time. I don't know if we're going to talk about that ever, but I don't know. Maybe some future episode. But first, we have signal boosts per usual. Mike, what you got?
Yeah, so again, nothing that really needs a boost, but just kind of like what Mike's been playing or doing lately, kind of a thing. I signed up for the Nintendo Switch online service, which is at first I was like, great, now Nintendo is making people sign up for this crap, but it's not that bad relatively. It's $19.99 for a month instead of $49.99, or sorry, for a year rather, $19.99 for a year, as opposed to like $49.99 for a year when you look at Sony or Microsoft. And so, the usual stuff, the playing online and special offers, blah, blah, blah. But then also it has it's got the Nintendo and Super Nintendo library of curated games, which are legitimately, by and large, amazing games. I mean, of course, it's subjective, like people like what they like, but they tend to be games that are pretty universally loved, popular.
Like F-Zero and Link to the Past.
Yeah. I played a little Punch Out, the original Punch Out, which was a nice little stroll down memory lane. I'm sure I'll finish playing through that at some point. I just played a little bit to see how it played, and pretty smooth. And then I actually played some Link to the Past, and I love that game. But it was weird. The only gripe I had was on Link to the Past on the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Like you're hitting the B button instead of the A button to swing your sword. Like I've had over like 20 years of muscle memory is telling me that I should be hitting the button on the right bottom set of buttons. So it took me a while to
You
not hit the
always
wrong
hit the B
button.
button.
I don't know. I don't remember it being the B button.
A button was the Pegasus boots.
Huh.
Trust me,
Maybe.
Link to the Past is my second favorite Zelda game.
Well, that's
I
weird
play it
then. That's weird
regularly.
because both Lacey and I had the exact same reaction. We both like felt that it was off.
Now I don't know whether the Pro controller is laid out like the original SNES controller. That's something I couldn't say.
No, that's what I think the issue is. The buttons may have been the same, but I think how the buttons were positioned were different on the original SNES controller. So I think that may be the issue there. But anyway, it was kind of weird at first, but got used to it. But yeah, it's cool. And there's some kind of like some interesting modern like conveniences or spins on it. Like for example, you've got the save cloud going on, keeping everything saved, and you can like create a certain save point in the cloud or whatever for games that don't traditionally save, and you can play any of the games that are multiplayer. You can play online with other people, and there's some games in there that didn't get a wide release, like Star Fox 2 for Super Nintendo. And just really awesome. Now, granted, to be fair, I was talking about it being much cheaper and having these perks stuff, but it doesn't have actual like relatively new game releases where you just download it and it's yours. Like on Xbox and PlayStation, you have the few games that they put out every month that are actually modern games, and you just download them and have them. You don't have to be subscribed to the service, but it's still pretty inexpensive and seems pretty smooth. I haven't actually played anything online yet, but we'll see how that goes. I'm sure I'll be doing some Smash Brothers online, stuff like that. But yeah, I've been having a blast with the Switch so far, and so is Lacey. And also the downloadable content for Breath of the Wild is pretty awesome too. Some really cool armor
and there's
sets
a motorcycle
challenge mode. Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy shit. So yeah, basically just thumbs up to the Switch Online, and to the DLC for Breath of the Wild, and then also had this thing show up in my feed recently. Earlier today, as a matter of fact, there is the Brick Roll, which, as one can imagine, is the Lego version of the Rick Roll, because we don't have enough versions of the Rick Roll yet, apparently.
Links on the website, and if you visit anything that we recommend, tell them we sent you.
And it's not technically a Rickroll if we are intentionally sending you to a Rickroll, and that
That's
is what
true.
you expect.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Schrodinger's Rickroll, right? Like it's a Rickroll, but it's not a Rickroll.
Yeah, something.
Something like that. Anyway, that's all I got this time. Not a whole lot.
Yeah. I don't have too very much either. If you heard me madly typing away there for a second, I was checking. And yeah, it has always been the B button, and the controller layout is the same across the board. So you and Lacey are just crazy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That's fair.
It was the A button if you played it on the no, it was a B button if you played it on the Game Boy Advance too. So I really don't know. Oh well. Anyhow, I've been playing a whole heck of a lot of Path of Exile again, whatever you want to call it. Harvest League is a lot of fun because you got deterministic crafting. You can purposefully make the items that you want, as opposed to kind of having to really try hard to get the kind of items you want and fail and brick items and waste a lot of currency and all that nonsense. Like unless you're kind of being stupid, you can't really brick items in Harvest, which makes me very happy. I'm currently running around with better gear than I've probably had in any other league that I've ever played in, and I've been playing since Essence. Which
Those are
means
words.
nothing to most people, but if you've played Path of Exile, you know what I mean.
Those are indeed words.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when people that are into Magic the Gathering talk about some expansion, like, "Oh, I've been playing since blah 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 blah," and I'm like,
I've been
"All right,
playing since.
that's a word."
Well, technically, I've been since Time Spiral, but my collection goes back all the way to fourth at this point. So, case in point. Because of course I play Magic the Gathering. And my YouTube thing, because I always try to find some interesting thing on YouTube, is the Detail Geek. He details cars. Like we're talking about, like not minuscule details, but like he cleans very dirty vehicles, and it is very like the word gets overused, but the best piece of terminology I can think of is it's very satisfying to watch, because you get to see these cars go from crazy filthy to, well, as close to showroom quality as you can get, unless you like repaint the thing. Because he doesn't do paint, but he man does he clean the cars.
So to borrow a term then from our topic, it's a total conversion. Looks like a
Technically, I think
whole.
he's really just I would call this actually really just more sort of him upping the textures.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess that's a good analogy. Upscaling, that would be the
Yep.
term? Yeah, he's upscaling the cars.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about game mods, and spoiler of the whatever you want to call it, the spoiler
Fortnite.
of the episode, Fortnite. Yeah, spoiler of the Fortnite. And is the Fortnite still not as good a game as a lot of people know? I'm gonna keep making that joke like every time at this point, aren't I? But no, Bethesda keeps trying to make paid mods a thing, and nobody's having it. But they're gonna keep trying.
Bethesda, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, this is not Roads Ahead. Or is it Streets Ahead? Now I can't remember. It's sad when you try to reference something and then probably fail the reference.
It's all good.
Streets Ahead, I think it was. Yeah, it was Streets Ahead, not Roads Ahead. It's a reference to Community, by the way, which is a great show.
Indeed.
And it's on Netflix, so hey, I can shout that out too. So game mods. What was the first game mod that you remember playing, Mike?
That's funny. I was about to ask the same question. I will start. I think for me, let's see. I don't think, well, Game Genie type stuff doesn't really count because you're just taking what's already there and fucking with the code.
Yeah,
But
like
that was
that
like
that
it was a precursor
that
to
is
game
that is
mods.
definitely like that's like proto game modding.
Right, yeah.
Like because especially those were third party tools. Like
Devices, right.
it was hex injection. It's
Yeah.
really actually kind of cool stuff.
But yeah, I'd say that's the first thing that was in the neighborhood was
Mm-hmm.
Game Genie for the Nintendo and Super Nintendo. There was I
Mm-hmm.
remember the one that was like Mario Brothers. It would let you do the thing where you jump and you like jump forever, and they called it like moonwalking. And
Mm-hmm.
you could like jump over the flag and just run forever and then die because you couldn't go anywhere at that point because you had
Yep.
to actually touch the flag to in the level.
There are a couple levels where you can do that legitimately. Hey, we got a Ben.
A wild Ben appeared.
Hello, boys.
Hey.
Sort your internet out, did you?
Well, like I said in the message that I replied to you, I just got home.
Ah, okay. Well,
We'll see how it goes. Let me catch up real quick. We did signal
Okay.
boosts, and we just started on the main topic. We were just talking about our first experience with the game mod. I was actually talking about kind of proto mod stuff, which is the whole Game Genie and all those little, third party things where you could have weird effects on the game or infinite lives or infinite ammo or whatever,
mhm.
kind of like hardware cheat codes.
Also for
Okay.
any
So I think
listeners who just joined us.
everybody's right. Well, okay. So really, I guess everybody's first game mod is the code.
Well, I think
That's well,
so
that's
I,
built in directly, so that's not really a mod.
I would say no, I would not say that because that was actually developer intended as opposed to a mod. Like there's a differentiation between something that was in the game program already to be found, a cheat, versus a mod
Uh-huh.
where you are actually purposefully injecting things.
Yeah, codes and
Right.
Also,
Easter
Right.
eggs are different.
you're technically wrong in any case because I had a Game Genie before I ever played
Mm-hmm.
Gradius or Contra. Gradius, by the way, was the first game that actually featured the Konami code.
Ah. Okay.
That was
So,
my first
So
cheat code, though, was doing the Konami code
oh
on
yeah,
Contra.
you got to respect the code.
right.
Up,
Gotta
up,
respect
down,
because
down.
that's kind of where it all
Right, right,
started.
right. EA start.
And those games are on the Nintendo Switch Online library, by the way.
Right. So, guys, I want to share something. This is my personal signal boost
Okay.
tonight because I'm out in my backyard on my phone and I can see the tail of Comet NeoWise.
Yeah.
Nice.
It is very faint, but it is there in the sky.
I remember getting worked up about the Hale Bopp comet a while back.
Yeah, there's some other people who got a little worked up over that.
Yeah,
But
well, I didn't not that kind of worked up, but still. I
yeah, but
remember
it's just
thinking
like
it was
this,
really cool because it was a very, very visible comet.
right? And right now, this one's just very faint, but it's a tail that just is out
Hmm.
there,
And it
just
very
below
and
the
sorry, go ahead, Ben.
huh?
Go ahead.
And just below the bowl to the left of the Big Dipper. So the new moon is just this orange sliver in the sky, and in just partway up the horizon, I can see the tail of the comet. So
And astronomically speaking, it came very close to hitting Earth.
right.
Like,
So,
keep in mind, that's astronomically speaking. It was still
Right.
hundreds of thousands of miles away, but
Yeah, it's all relative.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
it's one of those
Yeah.
things that the only reason we know about this comet is because one of the main reasons we know about this comet is because we detected it as part of NASA's things that might hit us sensors.
Right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
need to.
besides the Game Genie type stuff, I think my first game mod would be I think Counter Strike would probably be it because the Half
Mhm.
Life mods were like when I really started playing a lot of mods and stuff. The original Half Life, and I think It's been so long; it's hard to remember the exact order of experiencing them. But there was a place, a business called Springfield Power Games, pouring out for my homies. That was a fun place back in the day. Local area network arcade, kind of pay by the hour kind of place. And I played a lot of Counter Strike and other Half Life and Half Life adjacent games there. And that's when the mod was brand new.
Mhm.
And that was, I want to say, I don't remember exactly when, but some point in like 1999, Counter Strike first came out. But yeah, that was my first big mod experience was Counter Strike,
Mhm.
and yeah, it was ridiculously fun, and of course, it was very rough around the edges at first.
Yep.
With like certain bugs or glitches, and the fact that you could before they introduced a knife in beta 3 that you could conceivably run out of bullets and have no way to kill each other, so you'd have to do a Thelma and Louise thing and jump off the cliff to start the next match.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like how, especially since like a knife is like the sort of like the ubiquitous thing
Or some
in
kind of melee attack of some kind.
yeah,
They didn't program in anything besides the guns and
yes,
ammo in the first beta. That was just it's kind of
yeah,
weird.
the knife, the melee attack,
Right?
the thing that you can do as a last ditch effort when you're out of bullets. Not that people run out
Right?
of bullets anymore, but
Well, I mean, Half-Life had the crowbar, which again was
yeah,
one of the most famous melee weapons because it was very satisfying and effective.
I mean, I will admit that part of the reason that there is a crowbar in my sort of in my zombie plan is half due to Half-Life,
Have to.
but
Yeah.
also because like
Ah,
speaking realistically, a crowbar is actually one of the like you want if you're going to carry something that is going to be a last ditch melee, you also want to carry something with utility, and crowbars fit that bill very nicely.
Right.
Like there is reasoning behind it, but at the same time also
you're
because
going
it's
to
a crowbar.
do something else.
Yeah, you can remove nails, you can
Right?
open doors.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So what other more famous mods that before I actually got into mods? The flashlight for
One more time, Ben, you're distorted.
yeah,
the light for
We're losing you. I couldn't make
yeah,
that out.
I could not make out what you said there.
Why don't you go next, and we'll
Yeah,
see if Ben
yeah.
can
You'll have
reconnect.
to and may come back. So I got into PC gaming a little bit later than because game mods are up until very recently almost entirely the purview of PC gaming.
Right.
I got into PC kind of late in that I didn't have a gaming computer didn't have a gaming computer really until I graduated high school. My grandfather got me a top end PC as a graduation present slash you're going to college, you could probably use a computer. And so the first mod that I remember playing with was mods for The Sims 2 because my brother had that on his computer and I played it when he visited from college. I remember modthesims.net.
Yeah, that game was, or that franchise, I should say, has, has some of the largest numbers of mods, which makes sense because the game in and of itself is basically a virtual dollhouse. So, of
Hmm.
course, you're going to have people like, wanting to do their own thing or
Heck,
change the things that are there.
modthesims.info still exists.
Yep.
They've changed to .info as opposed to .net, but they've got mods for Sims 3, Sims 2, and Sims 4.
Oh, another one from that era I remember, because this was back when I was still subscribing to PC Gamer, and back when it was really good. I think around the beginning of the 21st century, there was somebody had done a Max Payne mod, and it was the Matrix lobby shootout scene from the first Matrix movie. And
Nice.
obviously that's perfect because Max Payne was the whole bullet time thing,
Yep.
that was shortly after the Matrix and became,
Hmm.
kind of a gaming staple, and they just did it so well. And,
Hmm.
yeah, that was ridiculously fun. That was very replayable too, like trying all the different weapons and approaches and the shoot dodges and stuff. Oh, another thing too, I got in a PC Gamer demo disc was the mod, single player mod They Hunger for Half-Life, which was like a creepy, scary zombie kind of thing that was done really well with like the lighting and the sound effects and ambient sound and everything.
Hmm.
That was really good. That wound up having a few volumes or parts or whatever they called it because it was so popular.
Yeah. So Ben, you're back. Can we hear you now?
It says he can't get back in on the
Oh,
green room.
goodness.
I don't know if he can hear us or not.
Yeah, he shows us in.
Shows us in. Yeah.
Let's disconnect him and see if he can reconnect now.
But yeah, I remember around that period of time is when I tried a lot of different mods because Counter-Strike kind of opened the floodgates. There was, of course, we talked about Day of Defeat in a previous
Hmm.
episode, and
Yep.
several of the more popular mods, like obviously Counter-Strike and Day of Defeat, got a source version when Half-Life 2 came
Yeah.
out. There's a
And
crap load of mods for
and
that.
that was why I didn't include those. While I played the absolute hell out of Counter-Strike Source,
Hmm.
at that point it was no longer a mod.
Yeah.
Valve bought
Right.
essentially well they didn't buy the rights. They hired the developers and said,
Right.
"Hey, now you're going to make money
Right.
from this mod." Like that's about the only way I can say you can do paid
I'm
mods
back.
correctly.
Hmm.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I'm
Welcome
back. Am
back,
I
Ben.
better?
A bit,
All right.
yes.
So, okay. So what I was talking about is the flashlight mod for Doom.
Oh yeah, Doom 3, right?
Doom 3's flashlight mod. Well, it wasn't even it was colloquially referred to, as I recall, as the duct tape mod.
Yeah.
It was so popular it actually got bundled in with the BFG edition of Doom 3 because it was like, yeah, why is it that you don't just have a flashlight on your gun?
Yeah, he's a badass Marine, but he's never heard of a tack light before. What the hell?
Right? Yeah.
Now Ben is on a delay.
His core has never.
Yep.
I've always been on a delay, guys.
You just play it off better, like it's noticeable now, but oh well. One of these days you'll move.
Not long now. They got not long now. They got the some of the plumbing in and they're ready to go and everything. So yeah.
Hooray! So I know that Ben and I.
We're getting there.
Yeah. I know that Ben and I's are some of our main interactions with modding here recently, at least, has been with Bethesda games. Like, as much as I will rag on them for trying to make paid mods a thing, because they try to make paid mods a thing, modding the hell out of Fallout 4 and Skyrim and such is a lot of fun. And there are very, very, very active mod communities for them. Yeah. I get most of my mods from the Nexus.
I get most of mine from the mod community, and then also from their
Steamworks
official.
Yeah, so he gets a lot of his from Bethesda.net, which, the ones that are free are fine. I've no complaints about them making mod integration easier. It's only when they start to try to make mod integration greedy.
Right. So yeah, and I've got now the one I've liked the most. Neil, you might enjoy this one. You may already have it. It's the Machine and Her.
Which game?
Fallout 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called The Machine and Her. It introduces a fully voiced companion and a very good quest line.
I never really did much with companion quests.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good. It's on the Nexus, which is where I get all my mods. But
yeah, it's huge. And Kat is a great little companion. She's basically supposed to end up being. She's non-romanceable. She's more like a teenager who is learning from you. So she will. Her AI will basically learn from you.
I learned it from watching you.
Exactly. That is exactly it. So yeah, it is a it's a very engaging storyline.
So this particular companion would learn to sneak around and shoot everything with silenced shotguns because that makes sense.
Hey, I've got a silenced shotgun.
I've got a silenced explosive shotgun. It shoots explosive rounds.
Now that's good.
It shoots explosive rounds and it's silenced. And although it makes a lot of damn noise
until the rounds hit.
Yeah.
And and since you can name your weapons in that game, I've named it my boomstick.
Silent but deadly.
Because you shoot something and it dies. Very dead.
Hard, very messily.
Yeah. Like, because
it's a messy death.
Because it's like mods can fix a lot of bugs, and they haven't bothered to fix this one, which is the explosive mod on a shotgun affects every single pellet that the shotgun fires. So each one explodes and deals regular explosive damage like it was an explosive like.
Okay, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it is. You're right.
So it's an I win button, basically, by using
a little bit. But I mean, at this point in the game, at this point in my continuation of the game, I had won well before I had gotten that anyway.
Yeah.
Because I had maxed out my ability to sneak, and I had a decently silenced pistol before that, and pistols don't have a particularly bad fall off and effective range, so I'd snipe people with my silenced pistol. The games aren't exactly realistic. If you've listened to any of our talks about
it is worth mentioning there are mods that focus on making them more realistic, though.
This is true. Yeah, you can that is kind of the beauty of the modding scene. If if you want it like rule 12 of the Nexus, if you're looking for it, there's probably a mod of it.
Yep. Rule 31. If you're looking for it, there's a mod of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that has
Well,
to do
and
with
yeah,
like upping the survival aspects of the game or making weapons behave more realistically and stuff like that.
yeah, or like a big one in Fallout 4 is bringing things over from other versions of Fallout. So like in Fallout 4, there's a mod that you can bring over. It's like Wasteland imports, where you can bring shit over from Fallout 3. And bring over food from Fallout 3 and weapons and stuff like that. So but yeah, some of the ones I like are the ones that you can bring tactical weapons in from modern day stuff. I have one that gives you dragon skin tactical vests and arm plates and things like that. That's one of my favorites. Visually, it's just one of my favorites. There's one for I ran across one. I was looking at for Celine. Basically, it's Celine's bodysuit and gun, but that gun is like way overpowered. But I was like, if you want to have female NPCs running around in black leather bodysuits, cool.
Well,
I
it
found
should be
one the other day that go ahead.
Sorry, it should be pointed out that in the modding community, Rule 34 is pretty well established as well.
Right, but you don't see a lot of that on the Bethesda net.
No, you don't see any AO stuff on Bethesda.net. You see some on the Nexus, but if you really want to get into the squicky stuff, you have to go to Lover's Lab.
We talked about The Sims earlier, so that's probably bears mentioning. How I'm sure there's about a gazillion of those, considering the fact that without mods, it's whenever Sims have sex, it's just simply like a bunch of. It's kind of like when a cartoon characters are getting into a fight and there's all the dust going around. It's similar to that effect.
All happens.
And there's little cries of Whoopee or Yahoo or whatever.
And giggling. Yeah.
So you are aware, Ben.
Yes.
There is a mod to insert your gun into Fallout 4. The Mosin Nagant.
Oh, the Mosin Nagant. Yes.
Yep.
There's also one for the M1 Garand. There is one for the M14, one of my favorites. So my gun. I have more than one. And then
the Mosin's the one I associate with you most
P99.
Yeah.
They have one for the P99, the Walther P99, nice little gun. They have one for John Wick's gun. They have a John Wick suit that has just insane, like 350 points of armor. I have that one because you can find dressers that will have John Wick suits and such like that in them. I will get like a dozen of them. I'll just find a dozen of them, and I will put one on every person in my settlement.
So cool.
Sanctuary Hills. And then
like a whole
there's one
modern going on.
Right. There's one I like. Skibata's tactical weapons one. That one has a bunch of good stuff, including modern. A lot of those. I'm not so big on. They have this one massive Walther sniper rifle. Problem is with it is that it is so unsteady. When you're sighting down through it, it's like, oh, I ran away with those crosshairs to get on what I want. Even when you hold your breath, you're still dealing with that. But they have hair ones. That's one of the ones I like the most, is because there's a certain point. I was like, I don't like anything that they have. It's like they have hair that goes to shoulder length, and that's it. And it's like, well, there are other things there are other hair. And then what are some of my other favorite ones? They have one where you can in that one where you can have more control of the settlements, but I dumped those after a while. You what?
Oh, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh yeah. So now Skyrim is another one I mod the hell out of.
Yep. Bethesda games in general are ripe modding territory. I'm reminded of two very important mods. They're both dragon mods for Skyrim. One turns all of the dragons into Macho Man Randy Savage, and anytime they breathe fire, they go ooh, which is important.
That's great.
But even better than that is the one that turns all dragons into Thomas the Tank Engine.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
The level of absurdity you can get with a
I tend
heavily
to try to
modded game.
stay a little more realistic.
I do too, but
Yeah.
I
So
would
I have
Sometimes you
one,
just
one of
fun
my
to fuck around
favorites with
though.
that one is the Dovahkiin Sanctuary.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a Hobbit mod. You can make hobbits.
Thomas the Tank Engine thing reminds me of that scene from Ant-Man where there's the giant fucking Thomas the Tank Engine and the big fight scene is great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet because the mod is actually older than that. Like the mod is that mod was getting traction when I was still in college. I'm willing to bet that actually probably the mod influenced the
It wouldn't surprise me.
scene.
I mean,
Movie.
hell, Skyrim
Right.
came out in 2011.
And then it came out again in 20.
Yeah, I should
Right.
hold on. Let me correct myself. It came out for the first time in 2011.
Yeah, it come
Right.
it Skyrim releases like once
Every few
every
years, there's
3
another
years or so.
Skyrim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Game of the year. So, and I like some of the actual DLC mods that come with
Mhm.
it, which we actually talked about. One, Hearthfire,
Mhm.
which lets you kind of sim it. But then there's Dawnguard, which introduces
Mhm.
crossbows, which are fucking
Well, it
which
should
are
be
fucking
pointed out
awesome.
once again that that's
And
another delineation that needs to be made. Expansions and DLC are not
Mhm.
like the difference between a mod and DLC primarily is who's releasing it.
Right.
is who makes it.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I would say it's like, but yeah, there's a mod in there for a demon race. I went to go find that a tiefling character that I was playing,
Mhm.
and I've got, but I think one of my favorite ones that I always look for is, I think it's the Dovahkiin Sanctuary. It's a house that crops up that you inherit, as it were. It's not far from Riften, and it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. See, I like locations and weapons. I have one for making
Yeah.
rapiers, which do damage like sword, but swing like daggers.
That's fun.
Huh?
I said that's fun.
Yeah, yeah, they are fast.
That's another cool thing about mods is if you have a particular weapon or weapon style that you like but isn't really represented in the game well, you can fix that. Or if you have if you have a gun that's effective but you think that the animation or skin is stupid or slow or whatever, then you can replace it with a mod and still use the effective weapon but have it be the weapon you want, look cool, sound cool.
Right. Yeah, it looks like the one you wept. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like D&D.
So,
Like,
yeah,
to use an analogy, it's like D&D or a Pathfinder or some other role playing game where you like a weapon because it's just a cool weapon, but like rules is written, it doesn't doesn't work that way. You can just have a DM be like, hey, congratulations, now this weapon that works like this is now the weapon you want it to be, because imagination.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Well, one of the what I like for Fallout is basically when you put suppressors on weapons, unlike the normal weapons, with this mod, it reduces the damage. A realistic thing because suppressors the way they work. So
Less velocity.
Mhm.
yeah. So
I'm reminded of
hang on just a second. Hang on a second, guys.
okay.
Doing the podcast. Yeah, I'm fine. So
Well, I am reminded of well, what was I reminded of? I lost my train of thought.
Your Thomas Tank Engine.
Oh no, I'm reminded of one of the more bizarre total game conversion mods I've seen, which was a game called Chex Quest,
I remember that game.
which came free in bowls of rice, corn, and or wheat checks back in the 90s, early aughts. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a 90s thing, I think.
And what Chex Quest was a total conversion of Doom.
It was legitimately fun. It was short as hell, but I mean, hey, it was a
It was the
free
first.
game
Well,
that
it
you
was a
got in a
total
box of
conversion
cereal.
of the first, I think, 6 levels of Doom.
Yeah.
What's really
that's
great?
a wholesome breakfasty thing.
Yeah. What's really great about it is one of the great things about it is you can if you put in the Doom level select code and tell it to go to a level past the levels that you that were actually converted, it'll load the Doom level with the enemy text with the enemy textures from Chex Quest. and like the weapon texture. So like you're suddenly in hell, but you're fighting the what were they called? They were the Phlemoids.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and also
I
all
remember
The what now?
the Phlemoids.
yeah. Also the standard original Doom code still worked. So I can't remember any. Like I didn't actually play Doom,
I
but
played a crap load of Doom too. I don't know which codes were the
Yeah, I
same, but
didn't
I
play it
remember a
really.
lot. Like ID Clip was walking through
Mhm.
walls. IDDQD was God mode. IDKFA was get
IDQD,
all
yep,
weapons and full ammo for all of them.
yep.
Yeah, I
And
remember a lot of
those
them.
were the same, yes. And those still work in Chex Quest.
I also
You
remember
go back.
in Chex Quest, your melee
Hang on.
Okay.
weapon is a spoon. It's just a spoon.
But the chainsaw is an electric spork.
That's fantastic.
An electric spork.
Yes, an electric spork.
Yes.
And it actually what most people don't realize is Chex Quest actually got sequels, 2 and 3, that were less total conversions
That's hilarious.
and more like they still were running on the Doom engine, but they were less they were using less less original because Chex Quest pretty much just retextured original Doom maps. Where the first one, whereas 2 and 3 were more slightly their own thing.
Right?
It's
Interesting.
funny you bring that up because on my subscription feed on YouTube, some streamer was playing Chex Quest. It was like so and so plays Chex Quest. I'm like, really? Chex Quest? Like that just seems so random to me.
Hilarious. Yeah. So now, at one point, someone was completely redoing the opening.
Lost you.
We're losing you. Redoing the opening of what?
The opening to something.
Talk about a dramatic pause.
Tum tum tum.
Now, speaking of openings, it reminds me of like opening cinematics, and which in turn reminds me of how great would it be to have a mod for some of the games with unskippable cutscenes to actually skip the fucking cutscenes.
Like the first
I'd
Kingdom
buy that
Hearts
for
game.
$1.
So I like Kingdom Hearts, but the first Kingdom Hearts game just has so many bad cutscenes. Welcome back, Ben, again.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know if any of what I said came through.
It
Where
didn't.
sometimes modders will do so much work they end up getting game. Yeah. Sometimes modders, mods actually end up being on someone's resume.
I mean, like, the people who made Counter-Strike just straight up got hired by Valve.
Right.
Valve was like, hey, you want to just make games for us now?
Yeah.
By the way, you want to sell Counter-Strike on our new
Right.
sales platform called Steam?
Well, and some of that
Right?
stuff too that also contributed to the whole, competitive gaming esports scene because Counter Strike was like the it game for a very long time, and is still popular to an extent, but is long past its prime.
Right.
Of course,
CS:GO
now
these
it's all about the
days.
MOBAs
Yeah.
and battle royale games these days.
And
That
that
yeah,
brings us to, like, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was a mod of, I think it was what, Arma originally?
I have no idea because I've never played the game. I've just seen a lot of other people playing it on my friends list.
Give me a
Right.
second here. I know that PUBG was originally a mod. At least I'm pretty sure it was. Yes, it was in fact an Arma 2 mod. Well, so it was a mod of a mod because it was he made
Modception.
the person who made PUBG originally made a mod of DayZ called Battle Royale. Which DayZ Battle Royale was an Arma 2 mod because DayZ was an Arma 2 mod. So it was a mod of
This is
a
a Russian
mod.
nesting doll of
Wow.
mods.
Yes.
So let me see if I have this straight.
Modception.
Arma 2,
Yeah.
that's an
Modception.
actual, yeah, Arma 2, the
Yeah.
actual regular
Mhm.
full game. Then
Yep.
there's a mod of it, DayZ, which later, not to be confused with the actual full release of a game of the same name later because it was so popular, but the
Yep.
mod DayZ of Arma 2 then got
Mhm.
modded in turn by the dude who did PlayerUnknown Battleground, which was the mod, which then
Mhm.
became a full game in and of its own. Did I get all
Yes,
that right?
Right.
that is
Okay.
correct. And the MOBA genre is Hello Defense of the Ancients.
Or Dota, as it is colloquially
Yes,
known.
the
Yep.
the wildly popular and probably the most influential mod
Of anything. It's
of
probably the most
yeah
influential mod in history. I mean, I created an entire, well, either that or PUBG if that was the first battle royale thing, because both of those led to an entire genre of game.
Yep. I'd prefer to give it to Defense of the Ancients because I don't like the battle royale genre.
Well,
And-
Defense of the Ancients, Dota it came along much earlier.
Yeah.
And was much more like decisive, I guess you could say, because for a long time, until League of Legends became a thing, like it basically had no competition in the genre. It was just Dota. That was it. That was what MOBAs were just Dota.
And of course, there was the fantastic song by Bass Hunter, Dota. And if you don't remember that, then you're honestly probably better off.
Good. I will remain blissfully ignorant.
It's a German techno group.
Yeah, I'm
playing
already off.
Dota.
I'm already out of here. You lost me at German techno group.
But was in a like, okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I played a lot of League of Legends back in the day. And by back in the day, I mean up until about 2 years ago.
I played a little bit of Dota when it was new, just to kind of see what all the fuss was about. But I never really got into it. I played a good amount of HOTS for a while. Heroes of the Storm, the Blizzard MOBA, but that was pretty much it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've kind of stepped out past. Once you get past the 2 games I play a lot, I'm
Fallout
kind of
Skyrim.
Kind of out of my zone. Fallout and Skyrim was my main one. This is my 2. Waiting for. Okay, now I don't know if there's any for Outer Worlds yet. God, I would love it if there were.
Any what now?
Of course, I'd really like it if there was more to Outer Worlds. Any mods for Outer Worlds. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know about anything like that. Outer Worlds.
There are Outer Worlds mods on the Nexus.
Not much.
By the way, for people who keep I keep mentioning the Nexus. The Nexus is specifically nexusmods.com and is like, do you want to mod games? Do you want to mod a game? Go to the Nexus, because if there are mods for the game, you can find those mods on the Nexus.
Right.
They host, according to their main page, they host 266,632 files for 1,021 games.
Pretty crazy.
So it's just kind of where you go for if you want to find a mod for a game.
Right.
That's where I modded Stardew Valley. That's where I modded XCOM. That's where I get my mods for the Dragon Age games, and for it's where I go for my mods. And because it's a nice, there it is, all in one space.
Yeah.
The 2 most heavily modded games on the Nexus are Skyrim and Fallout 4.
Go figure.
Imagine that.
Followed closely by Fallout New Vegas, and then Oblivion.
Yeah.
And then Fallout 3.
Are there a good amount of Far Cry mods on there? I'd assume there's some Far Cry mods.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, there's another one that I think Mike has played as well that has a lot of mods on it, and that's Conan.
Age of Conan.
Yeah, Conan Exiles.
Oh, Conan Exiles, not Age of Conan. Okay. And yes, there are mods for every Far Cry game except for the first one.
Gotcha.
On the Nexus.
Yeah, anything that's got like open world, sandbox, survival, anything in that realm tends to have a bunch of mods for obvious reasons. Make things more realistic, less realistic, add a bunch of items, alter how items work, etc.
The first Far Cry game was so completely different from all the other Far Cry games. We could do an episode on Far Cry at some point.
Yeah, I'll definitely do a franchise episode at some point.
Yep.
Back theory.
Oh, I heard him for a second.
Yeah. Welcome
You're back.
There we go. Oh God, it's getting frustrating. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah,
cannot wait.
It should.
Yeah, that's my
be the last time.
Internet,
in theory.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, here in a couple. Yeah, this one or one more. But I have seen what real internet looks like. It's glorious.
The fiber optic light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly, the only downside to that fiber optic light is that it's powered by CenturyLink.
Well, it beats what I have, which is
Yes,
I don't call
it beats a microwave transmission from Neptune. You're right.
This is true. Yeah, I don't have internet. I have shitternet.
I have lost the thread. Where were we?
Well, we're talking about Far Cry mods and survival game mods, Conan Exiles, etc.
Yes,
right.
We're talking about Conan.
Yeah, Conan Exiles.
Go for it. I haven't played any of that, so I will now tune out as though I were Mike and we were talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah, Conan is like Rule 34 per personified. I mean, there are titties everywhere on that one, and that's before you mod the game.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if that's a default setting, then it just goes from there. Well,
Exactly.
that's
And
funny.
then it just
Neil
gets
mentioned
worse.
Age of Conan, because that was one of the big things that people are talking about. Age of Conan, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're boobs and such, and it's adult rated, and blah blah blah."
Conan Exile, hold my ale.
Yep.
Yeah, because
But yeah,
Conan
it's
Exiles.
similar to the other stuff with like all the weapons and armor, just the ridiculous amount of weapons and armors that are added to it.
Yeah. Oh, and you can actually. There's one that lets you go into admin mode on the game, without actually having to have a server, and just let you just completely max it out. There's one that lets you take the levels past the 50 cap.
Right.
And then there's like the one on the server that we used to play on. I don't know if you play on that one still, Mike. But I mean, that one had had some of the that had some oh god, I can't remember. It's been so long, but there was some clothing mods, for women. I was just like, dang.
Yeah, it's been a
What
while
dungeon
since
did
I
I just
played.
wander in? Yeah, what dungeon did I just wander into? So
Yeah, it gets pretty redonk.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of different mods. Most of those are gameplay mods, as opposed to, of course, you can add weapons and things like that. A lot of the ones that I've used are gameplay modifications, let you get more skill points and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a baseline of just like server settings and stuff within the game. So like you have
Yeah.
stuff where like the day-night cycle is longer or shorter, and like your thirst meter and hunger meter is like moves up faster, slower, or whatever. There's a lot of customization just within the base game. So
Right.
it's kind of like there's a baseline of stuff that's just already kind of baked in, so modders can spend their time doing other stuff, just adding new
Right.
stuff entirely.
Mostly skins and skins and character looks.
Yeah,
And
and I saw one thing. I didn't actually play with it myself, but I saw they had this. There is a mod that like changed the character creator a lot, so you could have all sorts of different like looks and stuff, and like skin colors that aren't normal skin colors. So you could have like some weird blue alien or like elf looking person or whatever. Like it just really opened up all these options on it, because
yeah.
obviously the whole thing with Conan is that it's like this gritty, at least semi-realistic setting, and a lot of the source material for the books and graphic novels and movies and whatnot were based on like actual cultures from reality,
From
so
history.
it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and it was so yeah. There's only humans in the base game, and I think there's mods in it that let you make elves and other things.
Yeah.
And there's no actual magic in the game, except for like the religious stuff.
Right.
And the religions. So I think there are magic mods. I mean, the game itself put some in, but man, they were just like it was like you can raise the dead and use them to fight for you and stuff like that, as opposed to actual like magic. Of course, the feel for Conan, magic is a subtle thing. You're cursed or things like that.
Right.
There are no fireballs in Conan. No fireballs in Hyperborea.
Well, there are. It's a big glowing fireball in the sky that's trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the sun is only one of the many things. And then there's a dust storm. Oh my god, I hated that fucking dust storm.
Yeah, you just got to get that like breathing mask thing, that hood or hat or helmet or whatever the hell. There were a few different kinds you could get.
Yeah. There's the breathing mask. There are tents you can make. But those are actual.
Oh yeah, that was
that
that's
come
another
with
thing.
it.
That's one of the biggest things within
I
the
mean, that
modding
game
scene is
almost.
the building stuff, the materials, like different types of like walls and floors and ceilings and decor and stuff like that. That's a huge focus of the modding. There is just all the building stuff. It's like having different types of like Legos or Tinker Toys or whatever. It's just like, oh hey, here's a whole new set of like pieces to build with and mess around with.
Right, exactly. Yeah, a lot of that. There's a lot of modding with the weapon skins, the the building stuff. I think, and then of course, you start browsing through the mods for stuff like that. There's a lot of Rule 34 mods in there.
Yep.
I think travel mods were in there before they actually created travel mods. I think there was a riverboat mod in there at one point.
Yeah, there's some transportation type stuff like warp points or whatever.
Yeah, warp points were. Yeah, I think warp points were on the Pippi server, where you could set warp points, which is kind of cool.
So yeah, some quality of life stuff in there too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, we've bored Neil enough. Let's move on.
I
Right.
just don't have
No,
any.
I was just saying.
I'm not bored. I just don't have anything to contribute. So
Right.
fair.
No, I got you. I got you. I mean, yeah. I mean, I really. I mean, Conan Exiles was one of the few games I've played a lot, and then now that I can't play it, I jones for it every now and again. But yeah, I have like my 2 or 3 games. There's some mods for my time at Porsche that are pretty fun. But that game is not really designed. Is not really mod heavy. So
not all games really lend themselves to modding either. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
yeah, and I think a lot of what we've covered here is a lot of mods just change the flavor of the game. I mean, there are cheat mods, but I look at those and go, that just makes the game too easy. I like the ones that give flavor, that change the look of things, or give ability to work within the game, but not necessarily make me a god.
there. Like, I like most any kind of mod. Like,
Hmm.
I'll play, like, when I first played Fallout 4, I played it pretty much straight.
Hmm.
And then I was like, okay, now let's break the game over my knee. Um, like,
Yeah.
I will fully admit to cheating, because it's a single player game and you can't tell me how to have fun.
Hmm. Right.
So
Yeah. And
doing things
there
like
are.
making dog meat, an engine of death by upping his damage to like 70 billion, and just be like, hey, dog meat, go kill that mutant behemoth with a single bite.
Cujo mod.
Yeah.
Now there are mods that you can put together to make One Punch Man for Fallout 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I
You can
remember
One Punch.
the one time that I actually did any game modding of my own, because it was really easy. I made a mod that I called Dankest Dungeon, which was a Darkest Dungeon mod, and it
Okay.
was a cheat mod. I will fully admit that, but I made it. I completely subverted the concept of the game in so making, and it was funny.
Yeah. Uh, well, I think I've kind of completely exhausted my knowledge of mods.
I'm kind of starting to run out of ideas as well. At the same time, we're also kind of running low on time, so that works out
Ah,
well. I mean, we've been going for
yeah,
about
that
an
works.
hour 10. This might just be a shorter episode.
Right.
I'm Mike. What do you got? Because I'm also kind of tapped at this point.
Oh, I remember a few other mods I've enjoyed in
Take it
my
away, Splasho.
So, original Half-Life, there is a great mod called Action Half-Life. Did you ever try that one?
Maybe. Oh man.
Basically,
Um.
it's like all the action movie like characters and tropes and
Mhm.
guns and stuff. So like you had like the Boondock Saints skins where you have like the jeans and the ski masks and the trench coats, or not trench coats, pea coats, and like their dual pistols, and you have all the like John Woo style like leaping forward and leaping sideways and leaping
Mhm.
backwards, some of the Max Payne kind of stuff, and just a lot of it was like the gameplay with the maneuvers. So like you do the thing where you like leap forward while
Mhm.
firing, basically leap in any direction while firing the guns and roll action rolls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had all these other characters too. You had like characters inspired from various franchises and guns as well. So you had like the Castor Troy like golden handguns, with the like black with the dragons on them and stuff. That was pretty
Mhm.
cool. So you got like Face Off, Boondock Saints, Die Hard movies, all the just any kind of hard boiled, any kind of like action movie and pulpy thing was kind of like thrown in there together, and it was mainly a free for all or team deathmatch setting kind of deal. It had its
That was
own
what it was called.
mods.
Sorry.
What's that?
I was trying to remember the one of the absolute best Half-Life 2 mods I've ever played. And it's called Minerva Metastasis.
Oh yeah, I know that mod.
Um, and it is so very good because it's its own separate thing. Um, Also, a really great Half-Life 2 mod, which got later released as its own game, is the Stanley Parable, which is fantastic. And let's see, where am I at there? There's an achievement that you can get in the Stanley Parable called Go Outside. And you achieve that by not playing the game for 5 years.
That's funny.
I am so far 3 years and 2 months into my run for that particular achievement. I do highly recommend checking out the Stanley Parable, though. It is a fantastic bit of narrative. It's really good storytelling.
I have another Half-Life mod that I just loved the crap out of, but never quite got the popularity of like a Counter-Strike or a Day of Defeat or whatever. It's called Science and Industry, and gosh, that game was so fun. The basic the setup to the game is that it's a team, it's a team versus team game, and the setup was that each of you were like these you worked for a corporation, and the objective was to raid the other corporation's headquarters and steal their scientists, kidnap their scientists and take them back to yours so that you'd get their research and know-how and whatnot. And whoever I don't know if it was I forget the exact scoring mechanism, but I think I want to say it was like a total profit kind of thing, where like the more scientists you have and the longer you hold on to them and stuff, like the more money you earn, and whichever team has the most money at the end wins or something like that. But it was really unique and fun gameplay because you'd have like a baseline of like your research and profit that's just kind of like a ticker, like a cab meter or whatever that's going on. And like I said, the more scientists you get, the quicker it advances and everything. But so you start off with just just a basic pistol, just a basic semi-automatic handgun, and a melee weapon, which in this is a briefcase, like a hard metal, like a steel briefcase that you bludgeon people to death with. Which, by the way, is just very satisfying to get a kill with a briefcase. But as you went on, whenever you hit a certain point in your research, there would be a vote that would come up, and your team would all cast a vote, and that would determine what the next thing is that you research. So you'd unlock new weapons and or like a better version of a weapon, or you would like advance. You would research like biotechnology to start with more max health, or to like regen your health, or like body armor, and then like upgrade that. So you'd start with more and more body armor. So like it would be a progressive thing, kind of like feats and like a Pathfinder D&D kind of thing, where it's like, all right, you have to have this research thing to then advance to this next research thing. So you start off and you just have a pistol and a briefcase, but you'd get things that you'd get like shotguns and some machine guns, and you'd get like the Tau cannon from Half-Life, and the crossbow, which is the sniper weapon and stuff, and all sorts of crazy shit. And it's just really fun. And for some reason, I got really ridiculously good at the game, and I would name myself Dogbert because corporate
Of course,
heartless
yeah.
person. Yeah, and it was very satisfying. My weapon of choice was the crossbow, because you'd have some of the maps where like the map design on some of the maps that had a decent amount of outdoor space in the map, you'd have a line of sight for days. Like in some, you could even have a full line of sight out to the other person's base. Assuming they were outside, you could snipe them from any distance. And I just always loved the satisfying nature of that crossbow from the original Half-Life. Thunk, thunk, whenever you pulled off a kill. And the thing that got so crazy about it is the match would get longer, like as it got later and later in the match, and people were getting tougher and tougher to kill. If you didn't have the right weapon, because of the research, if they did the research where they had like more health and armor and all that. So I'd get into a situation where like some dude would be like running towards my base, and he'd have like a rifle or SMG or whatever he had, where he couldn't reach me, because we had researched the crossbow and they hadn't. And of course, I vote for that every time because I was a baller with it. But I would have it before their team would have it, so they could not snipe me at all. They just didn't have a weapon to do it with. So they'd be running, and I would hit them with the crossbow, and they'd realize that I'm sniping them, and they'd start going serpentine and jumping and crouching, trying to do all these crazy things to not get hit, but it wouldn't work. And I would just like I'd snipe them like 3 to 5 times until they were finally dead. And it was so funny because like it took so many hits, but I still managed to kill them before they reached our our base, and then I got to run over and take their stuff. So it's pretty funny because that's the other thing. You could pick up ammo from their dead bodies and stuff. It was great because whenever you kidnap the scientist, the way you would do it is you would hit them over the head with your briefcase, and then it would instantly change your player model to your player model holding the briefcase in one hand and having the scientist slung over their shoulder on the other side of their body. And of course, you moved super slow when you had the scientist over your shoulder. But
Science and
that's the
Industry is
most.
apparently still a semi-active game mod with an with apparently their own Discord and Steam group as well.
Oh, I'll be damned. So is it on is it the original or is it on Half-Life 2?
It's
What
on
game?
It's still on the original Half-Life engine.
Oh, holy shit! I may have to download that just to see how it plays these days and
semi-active. They released a build 1.4 B14 on January the 19th of 2019. So they haven't released a thing in about a year, but it looks like previously, they were doing like I don't know how frequent updates. So
Yeah, I didn't know it's still a thing. That's cool. But yeah, I have a lot of good memories of kicking ass in that game, and I just love the unique nature of how the gameplay worked. I hadn't really seen anything quite like that before.
You remind me of something that isn't actually a bug, but it wasn't actually a mod. It was a bug that was later made into a feature, but it's still just worth briefly mentioning. In Hitman 2, the re-releases of the Hitman games. In Hitman 2, there was a throwable briefcase, and you could throw a briefcase and brain someone with it. And at one point in an update, they screwed up something with the. Welcome back again, Ben. They screwed up something with the coding in it, and the briefcase, once you threw it, would always hit whoever you had thrown it at.
So it's like a homing briefcase.
Yes, like it would go around corners, it would go farther than it was supposed to. And this was obviously a bug, so they fixed it. And then a week after they fixed it, they introduced the new executive briefcase, which was just the bug intact.
That's amazing.
Because you could get some really stupid, bizarre things because you'd target someone who was like, I don't know, like on a motorcycle, and you'd throw it, and it would just kind of go. It would tumble end over end over end, and just finally smack the person in the head, and they would die instantly.
Well, I love that dev philosophy where it's like you stumble across a thing that tons of people are just enjoying. I mean, it's not technically supposed to be like that, and you're just like, well, fuck it. It's going to be that way because everyone loves it. So
yeah,
there you go.
The homing briefcase.
That's great. There's a lot of mods for the Unreal Tournament games too. And I remember, that was kind of a thing with the Unreal franchise was, or I should just say Unreal franchise in general, because there's a lot of mods for the regular Unreal games too. But there's the whole concept of mutators, where you had all the different like ways to change the setting of the game within the game itself, like the Instagame mode and all this other stuff. So there's always a lot of mods for those. And I remember the original Unreal Tournament, they made a game, I think it was called SWAT, and it was very Counter-Strike-esque. It was around that time when that was a new thing and popular. And it was pretty darn fun. And I remember the thing that stuck with me with that game is that they had the AI like programmed and scripted so that if somebody would die nearby, like the hostages, because it was like Counter-Strike where you would you get the hostages and bring them back or whatever. They would have a thing where like if somebody died near the hostage would go over and pick up their gun and like try to escape. It was pretty awesome. It kind of reminded me of the scientist like pulling out a gun and shooting you back in GoldenEye. It's a little different because they would actually try to make a break for it if like the conditions were right, but that was pretty amusing. It'd be like some
part of the game I never played.
Dramatic gunfight, and then somebody thinks they won, and then the guy just picks up the gun and like wastes them when they're not even looking. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I'm pretty tapped out, I think, myself.
I think we're all kind of out of stuff to talk about. I believe if we are going to be that we're shooting for talking about Hamilton next.
Yeah.
Musical episode, everybody. We're gonna do it all in song and rap.
We'd have to have a solid connection. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. As I say, and more talent than I've got where music is concerned.
Yeah, no, that's I am being facetious there. I don't think like I don't think anyone really wants to hear any of us rap.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, I personally feel like I have a decent singing voice, but I can't rap. So, well, hopefully, yes, like I said, hopefully next time we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about Hamilton. If not, we'll talk about something else. But this has been Neil
The one true Ben.
for a while, and
Mike?
we'll talk to you next time on Geek Fanthology.
This podcast is a production of Working Theory Productions. It is brought to you by a letter and a number. Opening theme is Ultra Mega Hyperstorm, and ending theme is March of the Mind, both by Kevin MacLeod. If there was interstitial music in this episode, it'll be listed in the doobly-doo. If you enjoyed this podcast or know someone who would, please consider sharing it in your social media, sending us an email, or leaving us a comment. If you're listening on iTunes, please rate us. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow us, etc., etc. Anything that you can do to help boost the signal and work the algorithm to make us more discoverable is appreciated. If you really enjoyed this podcast, please consider supporting us, either by making a one-time donation on our website or a reoccurring one on Patreon at patreon.com/workingtheory. A final thought. This outro is recorded in advance, and you may never hear it. It kind of depends on whether Neil has time to record a regular outro for an episode or if something gets in the way.